to my dungeon.
Welcome to Kuldrin's Krypt. I'm your host, Master Kuldrin. If you're new to the show, we use our combined 30 years of experience to dispel myths, get rid of stereotypes, and answer your questions about BDSM. You can call in at 865-268-4005 to leave your questions, or visit the Krypt at kuldrinscrypt.com. On this episode of the Krypt, we're going to discuss protectors. But first, I have to welcome my amazing co-host, Funsize. Hello, Funsize.
Hello, Master Kuldrin.
How's it going today?
I've had better days, but it'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little droppy today, to be honest. So it's going to be a challenge to keep that energy up. But with this topic and what you've got worked out for us, that'll make it a little easier.
I certainly hope so.
All right. So that protector, or the topic of protectors, this is going to be an interesting one. When I was solo, I didn't touch on this at all. And I think that since I've got you with me, we've mentioned it a time or two, but we have never really done anything more than that. So this is going to be interesting. Let me hit those rules to love by, and then we will dive straight into it. So rule number 1. Safe, sane, consensual, and informed. Rule number 2, kinky. That's KNKI from the KNKI app, available on all platforms. That stands for knowledge, no intolerance, kindness, and integrity. And the quote from Mr. Paul Young: submission is not about authority, and it's not about obedience. It is all about relationships of love and respect. All right. So now that we've got those out of the way, it's time for my favorite part, the definition. So, Funsize, what is your definition of protectors?
A protector is a usually dominant person who watches over another, called their charge, to ensure their safety when interacting in the kink community. They act both online and off at munches or even occasionally during scenes to ensure that their charge's limits and wishes are upheld. Pretty simple.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's very to the point. Now, I can think of several ways that this would come into play, but just to go ahead and throw it out there again as simply as possible, why are protectors important?
Well, protectors assist with navigating any dangers the charge has asked them to watch for and keep away predators, abusers, and suspicious persons. They can also help with mediating negotiations and scenes before things turn harmful.
So basically, and I am a protector of a couple of people. One is official, and the other two come to me for advice or anytime they may be vetting someone. So the importance to me is, as a protector, is making sure that I can maintain the atmosphere in which they play for them, because they are what I consider extreme submissives. Some will say true submissives, but I greatly disagree with that terminology. They are very extreme in whatever the dominant wants, to a fault. So they've recognized this in themselves and said, hey, help me prevent myself from doing something stupid. Do you mind? Or someone is bothering me and I might need a little help in this. Can you step in on my behalf? Now, these are different aspects of what a protector does, and I think we're going to get into that next with the duties. I would assume that would be the logical place to go. So what else do you have in mind as far as the protector's duties and role is involved?
Well, one thing that a protector does is help negotiate a scene for the charge. Sometimes they do have to step in, especially if their charge has frenzy, to help enforce practical limits for a scene. Or in case there's something creepy going on. I actually ended up in a conversation on one of the BDSM apps that I have been using with someone, and they asked me what my hard limits were. Well, I didn't list limb removal, so they immediately asked if they could cut off my arms. Absolutely not. But a protector would have gone, you're never talking to this person again.
Now, were they actually serious, or were they just testing your limits?
I kind of really hope they were testing my limits, but I didn't continue the conversation from there because it was honestly very creepy.
Yeah, when you overstep like that, even in being playful, when you're first getting to know somebody and it's all in text, you can hit creep factor 10 real quick.
Oh, yes.
So just a little warning. And I have to be honest here. Full transparency. I've done this myself because, well, you know me very well and you know my sense of humor. So that kind of sounds like something that I might say, but you got to be careful when you're trying to get to know somebody to make sure that they understand your sense of humor first. Just a little side note there.
Yeah. Don't jump into that in the very first conversation you have with someone because you will be blocked.
Yeah. What about permissions? Is that part of do you consider that as part of the duties of a protector, is giving permission with play partners?
It can be if the charge and the protector have negotiated that, because it is a relationship where they negotiate what the duties are to begin with. But yes, you can give permission on specific play partners and act as a secondary advisor in the vetting process. You have unofficially done this for me in the past with your thoughts on a specific person, and it happens.
Yeah.
Even amongst friends, you get into that occasionally.
Oh yeah. And we should really all play protector for each other, even if it's not official.
Yes.
And in that, being willing to hear out what someone has to say or to speak up in an appropriate way. There is overstepping one's boundaries there, which we did a really good episode on as part 2 of consent. So if you have any questions about boundaries and how to handle them, you can go back and listen to that one. I believe that was episode 136. So kuldrinscript.com/136. But moving forward with this, one of the interesting things for me, and of course this is all about safety really, helping someone protect themselves who at times may either not be strong enough to protect themselves, or just requires help, or they've gone through something and they need a little backup. It's not about weakness at all, because it's the strong person that reaches out when they are in need. That's the way I look at it. I never look at someone as being weak because they've asked for protection or asked for help in any way. So with this safety, act as a safety call for your charge, or attend those meetings in person for the vetting process. That is something that I commonly do for a lot of people, just out of random. Saturday nights, someone will tell me, hey, I'm going to be meeting somebody new on Thursday. Do you mind being my safety call?
Bridie Red, who I've talked about tons of times, will actually act as my husband's safety call while I'm at work.
Very nice. I think I remember you mentioning that before, but off the mic.
Yes, I've mentioned that to you off the mic.
And I remember, well, that's cool because she's got a pet name that you've given her.
She's vanilla with spices, she likes to say it, but she still actively participates in these aspects of being an unofficial protector.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you brought that up, because that is something that it doesn't have to be a kinky person to be your safety call.
No, they can simply be kink friendly.
Yeah, or, well, even completely vanilla. I've known people to tell their moms, I'm going out on a date with somebody. It's this new internet thing and we're going to meet at 7. And if you don't hear from me by 15 after 7, then you need to show up at this restaurant, and it's not going to be a text message. It's going to be a call so you can hear my voice. And if I say the word broccoli, then you know something is wrong. And it's good to pick a food that you're not going to eat, but something that you can bring up. No, Mom, I'm not having broccoli with this meal or whatever. And you can just say it so casually, and they know that, okay, well, there's that word. I know that there's trouble and I've got to act now. And people often don't understand just how important these check-ins can be, how life-saving they can be, because we don't know.
No, we don't.
I mean, a lot of us in the BDSM lifestyle are adrenaline junkies anyway, and we kind of get off on the danger, and that is normal, but just because it's normal doesn't mean that it's healthy. So we really need to take these considerations a little bit more seriously, I think, in my opinion. So what next? We've got the safety.
Next, we're going to talk about the more traditional leather households. And that's in that a protector can act as a transition dominant to a slave who has recently become unowned. It's something in the leather community where they have households. And for whatever reason, if they become unowned, they're kind of left in a limbo and they kind of feel very unsure and somewhat unsafe sometimes. So a protector can step in and say, you're going under my wing. I'm going to watch after you until you can find your new place. And whether that's a physical place or just a place where you feel like you belong, protectors would traditionally do that.
Yeah, and that is definitely where it started with the old guard, the old leathers. But I don't know how it is in your area. Here, this is actually becoming very common within the new guard and non-leathers as well.
There's one or two households, and I like to call them the median because they're a little old leather, but they're mostly new guard. So they're kind of in the middle between those two generations, and they have definitely adopted this practice. I helped a young man who was in a very abusive situation, but I could only offer him so much protection. I couldn't offer him a household to join or anything, so he joined their household. So there are one or two small little pockets of that here, but it's unfortunately very small.
But I'm glad to see that it is happening. It's something that I've really enjoyed in the past, and it's good to see some of these healthier traditions kind of come back or come into play with, I guess, the newer generations and this post 50 Shades apocalypse. I mean, post 50 Shades error that we're having.
I think you were perhaps correct with apocalypse.
Just a wee slip of the tongue, lad. So anyway, under duties, of course, we've already listed 3-4 things here. What about watching over the submissive of another dominant at events? This is something that I've done.
This is something I have done. This is something that I have had done to me. If you have a submissive partner and so they're going to a munch or a play party, but you yourself cannot attend as their dominant, as their master, if you have a trusted friend, you could ask them and discuss it with your partner of having them step in for the protector at that event. What that means is if you're allowing them to play, but you don't want, say, bruises, then that protector would step in and say, okay, you can play, but there's not going to be any bruising. And they would be able to step up and stop that from happening.
Yeah.
So that's very helpful.
And it's one of the aspects of it that I think I am involved in most often, even though I am officially a protector of one. And like I said, I have 2 others kind of under my wing. When a really good friend of mine goes out of town, he lives or he's from, I believe, Pennsylvania. I may be wrong about that. If I am, he's a listener, so he can correct me. Or Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, somewhere in there. Doesn't matter. But he has a couple of regular play partners, amazing people. So when he goes away, he will always ask me to keep an eye out on them and make sure that they're okay. And these are uncollared play partners, but it's still very important to him that they're watched over. And I'm very close with them. So it's nothing that they don't know about, and it's nothing that they don't agree to, which is also very important, because if you're going to appoint a protector or a guardian ad litem of sorts over someone, then they really need to be part of that negotiation as well, to know, one, that you've asked this person to do this, and 2, that they're okay with this person doing this. So that's something that can be forgotten at times too, because otherwise it's kind of sneaky. And if I was to step in, if something was going on that I know that he would consider inappropriate, and I just stepped in and said, no, this doesn't need to take place, well, then to them, I would really be overstepping my boundaries with them. So it's very important in that entire process. And little things like that often get forgotten can really do damage to friendships, partnerships, relationships of any type. Do you have anything else that you'd like to discuss about the duties of a protector?
No, I think that covers it pretty well.
Okay. Well, if someone is listening to this and they're in need of protection, whether it's harassment or they're new or they've been around for a while and whatever the case, they are in need of protection. What are we going to do? What's your advice on how to seek out a protector?
I think it's important to understand that communication is your first step. So ask a dominant friend, talk to the other charges. For example, if you look at FetLife and you see Kuldrin is protecting officially so-and-so, you could shoot so-and-so a question of, how'd you find this protector? What makes a good protector? Would this person be willing to protect me? And I'm not saying to ask Kuldrin, I'm just using that as an example.
Thank you.
But it's important to find someone who is willing and trustworthy of being your protector, and then negotiate what you need them to do. Like we've said before, it's really all about that individual relationship and what you want out of it. And it is a relationship, even if it's not a sexual or romantic one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really not all that difficult to find one, but I just realized I did skip over one important part with asking you how to go about that. And that was, when do you recommend a person seek out a protector?
Really, anyone that's feeling just new, shy, going through a frenzy, having trouble with abusers or predators, or if you're like me and you just have a very specific goal in mind as far as what you need and are having trouble weeding out everyone else, it can be really helpful to have a protector. And there's nothing wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you can't say no or that you're weak, helpless, or stupid or any of that, as many have come to believe, unfortunately. It's just that you recognize that you need the support of others and have made the decision to seek it out.
And I think it's very important what you pointed out there, that it doesn't mean that somebody's weak or that something is wrong with you. It's a common thing within our community. And unfortunately, it's common to have a protector, but nowadays with all of the new people joining in, it's very uncommon that people actually know what that means.
Yes.
So if you are under someone's protection and someone contacts you, then don't be afraid to message that person back or have your protector do it and say, be nice about it, because there are a lot of new people that just don't know the protocol. But tell them, hey, I don't know your length in the lifestyle or your knowledge, however you want to word it, but you may have missed on my profile on FetLife that it clearly states that I'm under the protection of someone else. So protocol dictates that before you contact me, if that is your agreement, and it's always best if they put that down in their profile. If you have a protector and you want someone that is interested in contacting you to contact them first, let the people know, because everybody can have a different protocol with this. And that's one of the things that kind of makes it a little more confusing. You know me, I like definition and structure and things of this nature. So I want it to be just a certain way. But if that certain way means that it can be different for everybody, as long as it's clearly stated in their profile, I'm good with that. But it needs to be stated in their profile so that I know what to do. Otherwise, I'm kind of left in limbo, and I'll probably just go ahead and message the protector because that's what I want others to do. But in some cases, they may come back and say, and I've had this happen, well, thank you for the respect. That means a lot, but that is not part of our dynamic. You may feel free to message them independently and on your own. It just varies. All right. Duties, when it's needed, how to find one. Man, this is a lot of information going really quick. It's a pretty simple topic, though it is a very important one. What about I guess really diving more into detail about what I was just talking about, approaching a protector and their charge. Let's be a little bit more specific with that one.
Well, approaching someone else's charge, first off, should not make you nervous if you have good intentions. It's all about safety, and having a protector there can help keep you safe as well, because it can keep you from making a mistake that you normally wouldn't have made if you had that second pair of eyes or that second voice to act as an outside reasoner.
Mm-hmm.
And then approaching in person, not on FetLife, not on any online community where it's listed as protector or protectee, means that you have to ask the protector if you may interact in conversation, negotiation, etc. with the submissive charge. And this is really a protocol out of respect, and it's just important to always be respectful and honest about your intentions. And then if you approach them and you don't know what the dynamic is, what the relationship is, ask. And then ask them to clarify what that protection entails. Information is always your friend, so don't be afraid to ask questions. Just always be respectful about it. And then on FetLife, whenever you do see that relationship listed, it's important to spark up conversation with the charge and simply respectfully request permission for the contact with the protector first, like you talked about just a minute ago.
Yeah, very good advice. Very important that people take that into consideration. And several times in there, you're talking about respect.
And it's important for a reason.
Yeah. If there isn't respect, then it's going to be a no.
Yeah. Every single time.
Pretty simple.
I got asked spur of the moment to be a protector for all of about 10 minutes in an online chat room by someone I had known for years and years and years. Never played with them or anything, just knew them, was somewhat of friends, but not giant friends. It was just a general chat, and this person came in and immediately tried to start scening with this person that I knew. Well, this person that I knew did not want to scene with them, didn't know them, and immediately asked for me to step up and act as protector because they were just so thrown off by the experience. And it went into a very simple conversation that I had to have with this third person who had come in thinking they were just going to scene with whoever, and it didn't matter because the submissive should always be submissive in their head. As we know, that's not true. And it simply came down to this person believing that whatever they could take when they decided to switch, as it was, and become submissive, that any and every submission should be able to take on and offline. Me explaining to them that no, that was not the case, and even pointing out that if they tried to take what I have taken in my life from a submissive standpoint, they would probably end up in the hospital or worse. And it was just a very clarifying moment. But the second we left that chat, my protection over that person dissolved. So it's important to note that you can end up doing that, where you only have to step up for that one moment, or it can be something that can last for months or years.
Yeah. And I think our long-time listeners, they will know what I'm talking about here, but there are also organizations that work as a safe haven. The Order of Avalon that used to exist, that you were a co-founder of, that was the entire mission of that, was to be a safe haven, a place for people that needed protection. And unfortunately, that one has, the person in charge of the finances for that one decided that he no longer wanted to continue it, but there are other places out there. I made a promise when it went down that I was going to recreate something like that at kuldrinscrypt.com, and I've not yet been able to finish that, though it is still in the works. That is still in the process. It just takes a long time. And so for the long time listeners and the people that were at Avalon and that come over to listen to us, to our little show here, yes, I have not forgotten. You are not forgotten, and that will become a reality. It is my goal to complete that in 2018, as my regular job has me working 90 hours a week plus what I have to do here with the podcast. So it is a little bit difficult for me to do all that coding and manage everything else, plus my own personal life, and then my very necessary Saturday nights at the dungeon, just my personal time where I get to spend 6 hours decompressing around my kink family. So it will happen. I have not forgotten about you, and hopefully before this year is up, you will have a home again at the Krypt. I just haven't touched on that in a long time, and it's a very touchy subject, and it fills me with a lot of anger to think about it. But anyway, I also wanted to share something personal. I was contacted by a listener on FetLife several months ago, and we had become friends. She is a little wolf puppy, a little cubby. A very precious person, both in kink and out of kink. I have a lot of respect for her. And she has an owner. And typically, if I'm contacting somebody, if they have an owner, I'm going to contact the owner first. Well, because of the show, I get a lot of messages from everybody in every role possible. And I feel it important to respect that boundary. So I never take it past anything basically professional. But through that, we've developed a friendship. Now, she talks to me with her master, and I've talked to her on the phone, and he has been present and he has approved of the conversations. Well, there's been a lot of other talk about play and things like this. No online play, because everybody that knows me knows that that's just not my thing. But they live in California and she's wanting to visit here. She loves this side of the country, went to school here, where I was thinking about going out to California at some point because there's a lot of people. She lives in LA and I've gotten contacted by a lot of people out there. It's a big community. So it got to a point where I felt it was important to contact him, even though I even spoke to him briefly on the phone. So my message to her protector, and I'm not going to leave anything out, this is very revealing. It says, "Hello, good sir. Though you and I spoke briefly on the phone and Frost has told me that you don't have a problem with she and I talking, I'm old school and need to formally state my intentions and ask your permission. I would like to eventually meet her and you in person. I've come to greatly like and respect her and would love to have primal play with her. I feel a very strong Papa Wolf pull toward her. As a side note, he is not into any type of primal, so he is a good master and wants to fulfill all of her wants, wishes, and desires, and to see her happy, because a happy slave is a happy master." So back to this. I have a very strong Papa Wolf pull toward her as though she is part of my pack and one of my cubs. This is inappropriate of me with her being your property, and I hope that you don't harbor any ill feelings because of this. Now, again, I did have some permission already to speak with her, and he knew of our friendship and possible developing things. So I continue. She has said that you are open to things and actually wish to watch if we do end up meeting and playing. Of course, this is not a problem for me. I would just be honored that you would allow me to play with your property. Though I know she would make an amazing house slave and we have developed a close bond, it is not my intention to attempt to steal her from you and will respect any boundary that you put in place. I look forward to your response and hopefully meeting you someday soon. Kuldrin. Now, parts of that are very revealing, but I think it's important to give an example of a very respectful letter with some context as to our previous conversation. And it's very, very simple. Remain respectful. State your intentions, be honest about it. And he knows he is a listener as well. And he knows that when I state that my intention is not to steal her away, that it would strictly be friendship and possible play at some point, then that is all that it is. And if it were different, I would state that. As awkward as some people may think that that might be, I'm just that honest. And it's not being that cocky. It's just I believe in that much honesty. So it would be ridiculous to have that thought. Since she's in California, I'm here anyway, right? So anyway, just an example of my own personal experience there that I thought I would share. Funsize, feel free to critique that as you see fit. If you see something in there that you feel that was a little off, or if you think it was a pretty good job.
I think it was a good job. I will say that in the response back, you might receive limitations. And this really goes for anyone that's asking any question like this. Be aware that dominants, owners, etc., protectors may state limits on what they will allow. You may get back that you're allowed to play with her, but it will be non-sexual or something, for example. Obviously, this is literally the first time I've heard this message that you're sending. So I definitely don't know what response, if any, you've gotten back.
Well, I will share that with you as well. Hello, Kuldrin. I appreciate your straightforward style. I have no problem with the two of you engaging in consensual play. I do like to watch for many reasons, the biggest being the opportunity to learn more about Frost and the scene. He is new and very eager to learn and to be able to advance his skills. Then he continues on. I've been told that Frost and you have developed deep bonds in the time you have been conversing. I'm glad that you feel comfortable telling her how amazing and special she is. She needs to hear it often from a multitude of people, or she has trouble keeping her head up. Thank you for reaching out gratefully, and his signature. So it was well received, and he was already aware of the situation, and that actually helped to ease my concerns that maybe she wasn't actually saying or telling him about our conversations, because that does happen, unfortunately, and you never know. No matter how much you think you may know, you never really know. And that confirmed that. So that was very good of him to put that in there as well. All right. So let me do a quick recap. We've talked about duties. We've talked about when to seek out a protector, how to find one, how to approach someone to be your protector. Of course, our own personal stories. So what is the one thing that I'm missing here? I know that there's something else that we need to discuss.
The bad reputation and sadly low opinions of protectors and their charges that has sprung up over the years.
Oh, yes. That's why I forgot it.
Well, you know me, good and bad. We've got to face what's out there in the community head on.
Yeah, I guess it's because I tend to just ignore that crap that I just didn't want to, I just don't think about it. Man, go ahead. Let's hit it. In looking through and researching and refreshing as I do every single week and writing the show notes, I came across one article in particular, which was posted both online, and I have the articles posted in the show notes, along with there being a link to its FetLife discussion where it was also posted and people were allowed to discuss it. The article is called Your Protector is Hurting You. This article is an essay which makes several points about why not to have a protector and why having one is bad. And I think it's very important to confront these, show why these people that wrote this article that responded to this essay on FetLife feel the way that they do, but also offer our own knowledge and opinions. Mm-hmm. So it made really three main points. That the protector or the charge of one means that others simply will not approach you. Not true.
Not true. The article goes into how protectors are actually robbing their charges of communicating with others in the BDSM community by scaring off those people and limiting the way they communicate. Like we said, this isn't true. If you are a predator and you're looking at someone and you go, oh, they have a protector, I'm not going to bother with them, that's actually a good thing. Mm-hmm. And then if you're going, oh, I basically just want the online play or the physical contact, so I'm not going to go through the trouble of talking to this person with a protector because all I want is this and they're going to say no, then, fine, but you could have been honest about your intentions and respectfully just come out and say it. It doesn't mean an automatic no, because there are some who are looking for just that are submissives and just charges.
There are a lot that are looking for just that. A whole lot.
There are.
And there's nothing wrong with that. People need to let go of those incorrect programmings, I like to call them.
Yes.
And when the person that is under my protection, if someone contacted me and said, hey, these are my intentions, I'm not looking for any kind of relationship, she's hot and I'd just like to get freaky with her a couple of times. You know what? Even if you worded it that way, you were honest with me, I'm going to talk to you some more. I'm going to immediately communicate to her that you've contacted me, and that's the appropriate way to be someone's protector. You don't just cut them off immediately because you are not their dominant. They still have a choice. It's still ultimately their decision, as it is in any case, really. But I think this is just oh, this is frustrating. This is just a nonsensical concern written by people who don't know how this actually works or is supposed to work, how you're supposed to have this protector-charge relationship. So, okay. You said there were 3 points. You just hit the first one. I'm a little frustrated. I'm stepping
trust
back.
Me, I was extremely frustrating reading this, and I didn't just read the article. I read all the FetLife responses to it, and there were quite a few.
In some ways,
so I was extremely frustrated.
In some ways, I don't even want you to continue because I'm sure 2 and 3 is going to be just about as ridiculous as number 1. In other ways, this is a train wreck. I've got to know what the other 2 main bullet points of this presentation are, and I guess we can't stop here since we've already started it. So go ahead with it. Number 2.
Okay. The second point of this article is that protectors only use the title as a way to isolate the submissive in order to gain their trust and manipulate them. The idea here is that protectors are actually acting as predators and coercing their charges into sexual dynamics. While this is true in some cases, it's part of what's giving protectors a bad rap overall. Not all protectors are like this. There are bad apples who will take anything good and try to spoil it, and that's true here as anywhere. There are predators out there that have looked at what this relationship is supposed to be, and they will try to take advantage of what it's supposed to be and try to manipulate people. And that's why it's important to build relationships of trust and communication and respect.
Okay.
And do that before you choose someone as a protector.
Okay, I got to chime in on that one. Obviously, I did not read these.
Nope.
And that one makes it a little bit better because that is actually some truth. There are those scumbags. Wow. Sometimes I really hate keeping this PG-13.
We're almost through this season, and then we can go explicit, and you can call them what you really think of them.
Right. So there are those out there that do violate the trust of protector in charge, and I can honestly say that in my experience, I've known of this twice. In 23 years in the lifestyle, I have known of this taking place twice. And it really is true that one bad apple will spoil the bunch. It has damaged the reputation, but it is not the norm. And through educational tools such as this show, we're helping to teach people, both experienced, because though it's a 101 podcast, we have tons and tons of listeners that are very experienced, more experienced than I am or than you are, or than we are combined, but they listen as a refresher. And when they contact me and tell me this, it really boosts my spirits. The first time it happened, I was quite surprised. Somebody, the first line of their message was 43 years in the lifestyle. Man, the things that I have forgotten as a newbie. And I was like, what? How many years? And you're listening to this little show for a 101? And they just go on to continue in saying how things have changed, how they have forgotten what it felt like to come into this new and exciting and scary thing and not know. And back then, even when I started, and we're talking the 90s, there wasn't any kind of information out there. That is the one good thing that being in this post 50 Shades era has provided, is information for people to get started. But though I've taken a tangent, as I tend to do, your second point here, unfortunately, there are those out there, but hopefully through education, we can help people to understand both protectors and charges, dominants and submissives and switches, that this is the way it should be. And to be perfectly honest, out of all the people that has been under my protection throughout the years, there have been very few that I have been sexually active with. And I was before, or we were play partners or sexual partners before I ever started protecting them. And there hasn't been a single person that has been under my protection that I have been sexually active with until there was a conversation about something else as we grew closer, and completely non-predatory, because everybody that I've protected, other than those single event kind of things that you talked about earlier, have been very close friends of mine in one way or another. So It's just not that prominent as they want to make it. Now, I will say that since the burst of the scene has taken place here a few years ago, there has been a little bit more of it because the predators are going to come out to play as soon as they see an opportunity. And this is an opportunity, but people know what the role is, no matter what the role you're going into: submissive, dominant, switch, protector, charge, whatever, play partner. Know what your role is and what the actual terms and definitions are of this and what is okay and what isn't. And never enter into any kind of play or sexual play if it just doesn't feel right. If it's not what you want to do, don't let anybody pressure you into it, period. The end. That's called manipulation and in some cases called rape. Know your role and don't let anybody change that role for you. All right, so I'm done with my little rant. What is the final point in this? Right now, I'm 1-1 on what I agree with and what I don't agree with. So let's see if you're going to make me a believer in this article or if I'm about to wad up this piece of paper and throw it in the trash.
Unfortunately, I think you're about to wad it up.
Oh, boy.
The final point is that charges don't or shouldn't need a protector. It makes out that someone that needs a protector has something wrong with them, or that they're weak, unwilling, or unable to say no, and therefore not adults. What it doesn't say is that they may want to say yes, but unsure of what their limits should be due to inexperience or frenzy. Even I have moments of this. I am a hardcore masochist, and there are definitely moments where I have it in the back of my head of, in the middle of a scene, I might be past my breaking point and still want to say yes because I'm so far into subspace. And maybe that dominant doesn't know me that well. Maybe that dominant hasn't played with me enough. Maybe that dominant just doesn't care. And if I had a protector there, they could help with that. They could watch that and say no. They could step in. And I've been in this for years. Mm-hmm. It doesn't say that we all need to feel safe as a basic human need. And approaching dangerous situations, which BDSM is, no matter how you spell it out, no matter what you're doing, you're going into a dangerous situation, and it kicks in that basic instinct, that need for safety and security and stability. It also doesn't say that some people, the abusers, predators, or just disrespectful people, don't always take no as an answer. Some will keep pressuring and abusing others regardless of what is said or done until someone else steps in and helps make it stop. I've been part of this lifestyle for years, and, you know, as Master Kuldrin just said this episode, I am strong, intelligent, and beautiful, and yet there are still times when I really just want a protector there to help me through. It might be for a scene, it might be for a day, or it might be something more permanent in my life.
Yeah.
But it is there. So, no, wanting a protector does not make you weak. It doesn't make you stupid. It doesn't make you childish or immature. It makes you an honest, support-driven human being, adult. And if people don't want to deal with that, then I really think the problem is with them.
I've sat here quietly.
Good job.
Though I've wanted to interject
a lot.
So let me just take a moment here to explain something about this article. And I am going to follow this link that you have in the show notes that will be at kuldrinskrypt.com/139 if you want to find this link. And I'm going to email the person that wrote this. I'm going to invite them to listen to every episode and determine whether or not they feel that we are knowledgeable, accurate, and intelligent individuals. Then ask them to vet me and determine what my strength and my character is. And if they take that challenge, I'm then going to inform them by them listening to this episode. So you, the writer of this pathetic article, as a dominant, I have been under the protection of someone. Am I weak? I dare you to challenge me. Hear a person out. Understand why. In my case, it was because I had a stalker that become irrationally violent, a female. Now, I am not weak. I am very self-motivated, very strong, and very intelligent. And in my intelligence and my strength, I also know that I do have weaknesses that do not make me weak. One of those weaknesses is also a mixed bag because it can be very much a strength. When I'm attacked, I will attack back. When this stalker become violent in her actions and a man and another female got on board to participate in her acts of stalkery, my nature would have been highly unintelligent, unethical, and would have landed me in jail. So I went to a group of my closest friends. I didn't just have one protector. I had 7. And we sat down and we talked. And I filled them in, let them read every message, every email, showed them pictures of things that had shown up on my front porch, in my backyard, and through my broken window. They fixed the situation for me. It no longer exists because of that. And I've been stalker free of that triad of people going on 17 years now. It is often a necessary thing in our community. Something that we didn't mention really in depth is that both dom, submissive, and switch, or all 3, can be in need of protection. And there is absolutely positively nothing wrong with it. So, writers of this pathetic article, if you have taken my challenge, contact me now. Let's have a conversation. I will stow away my anger and return to my normally intelligent self for this conversation via Skype, telephone, in person, however you so choose. But don't sit cowardly and not participate. And that's all I have to say to them and on this specific article. Let's move on.
I think you really quite wrapped us up there. I will say in conclusion to protectors and everything that we've been discussing today, that they are an important part of this lifestyle that certainly deserve more respect than they are given. And we really need to get back to what protectors are supposed to be and shrug off these assumptions and these illusions that they're predatory or that there's something wrong with it. And we also need to find a way to call out those that are predatory, but that can only be done through communication, respect, and the vetting process.
Absolutely. And people may not understand the level of anger that I have about this. It is because you're scaring people away from having something so necessary, especially for new people, because there are those predators out there. And the entire reason that I started Kuldrin's Krypt to begin with was to protect people by informing them of the way to play safe, the way to carry themselves in a safe manner. And I'm almost ashamed of the fact that I never talked about protectors before, because it's very much an important part of that puzzle. And to me, to put an article like that together, it just seems like that would be something that a predator would do. Let's go ahead and scare off all the dogs that guard these sheep so that the wolves can come in and tear them to pieces.
And more than that, it's scaring the sheep.
Yeah.
It's scaring the sheep to be afraid of the dogs.
Yeah.
That could protect them to be afraid of these things. And yeah, I definitely was not happy reading these things, but I will not sugarcoat what is out there in the lifestyle.
No.
Because I believe that we have to confront these things in order to break through the worst of them and create a better world and a better community for ourselves.
Absolutely. To the new listeners, I thank you guys for jumping on board, making it this far through the episode. My anger, this is a first for it to truly shine through. This is not typically a wild, ticked off rant type of show. And to the dedicated longtime listeners, thank you so much for being with us. You guys are what keeps us going. And I hope that you can understand. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to reach out. KuldrinsKrypt.com/contact. Of course, FetLife, search me on there. Kuldrin. Just KuldrinsKrypt.com. You can find all the contact information there. Let's just keep it simple. I will allow what I just said to be my conclusion, and I've got a few people to thank on a happy note. So I'm going to dive into that. First, our executive producer, Jeremiah, our senior producer, Matt, our junior producers, K2SO, Irish Mountain Dragon, thank you, Funsize's husband, and the Accidental Trucker. If you would like to become one of our show producers, go to our website, KuldrinsKrypt.com, click on the Support Us tab, and you can get that information. Second, BDSMcontracts.org for their donation of their beautiful 25-page soft or hardbound contracts for MS and DS relationships. For 20% discount off of anything on their website, go to BDSMcontracts.org and put in the coupon code Kuldrin20, that's KULDRIN20 for a 20% discount on all purchases. And finally, finally, whippingstripes.com. She is my personal maker of all of my leather and paracord impact toys, such as floggers, snake whips, everything in between, all the fun hybrids. We don't get anything for mentioning Whipping Stripes or BDSMcontracts.org. These are just people that we've come to know and greatly love them. I don't have a discount code for Whipping Stripes because her prices are incredibly low, but her quality is absolutely outstanding. So check her out. If you need anything special made, feel free to send her a message. I'm sure she'll work with you on what you need. Next week on the Krypt, as I said, we are going to get into your questions, comments, stories. It's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's a lot of work for us to put together, but you guys, you're worth it. You're awesome. We got the best listeners out of any show that I've ever heard of, listening to all my podcast friends talking. So I love you guys. Just saying.
We love you guys.
We love you guys. Just saying. So anyway, in the meantime, go to kuldrinskrypt.com for show notes and sign up for the email list so you can get those show notes as soon as the episode comes out. It'll be emailed to you automatically. I don't spam. In fact, people tell me I don't send out enough emails. But anyway, you can sign up for the show notes, get subscription information for the podcast, find the links to all of our contact information, the Twitter, the Facebook, the FetLife, Instagram, you name it, it's there. All right. So, Funsize, any final thing that you would like to add before I close us out for good?
No, I'm just really looking forward to next week's episode.
Me too. All right. Well, thank you so much, Funsize, for putting this together. Another amazing job. You really got my blood boiling on this one, but that needed to happen. So thank you for that, as always. All right. Well, that's going to do it. This has been Master Kuldrin and Funsize for kuldrinskrypt.com. Unearth the truth.